Well, to say it was an optimistic show, well, we started with something optimistic. Welcome into TexAgs Rewind, presented by Yeti. Nick, what was your favorite part of the show, the optimism or the pessimism?
Well, I mean, we talked all three, I guess 4 sports here at A&M, basketball, football, baseball, and a little soccer. But, I mean, a lot to be optimistic about when it comes to basketball and baseball and maybe football.
That's why we said we started the show today with Wade Taylor being named SEC Preseason Player of the Year. Billy Liucci joined us to talk about Draylen Miller decommitting.
Pessimism.
Yeah,
Negative.
Aggie baseball fall camp update.
Positive.
All right, there we go. And then SEC Mike burned down the house. He wanted to fire everybody. He fired me on the air. He fired Nick a while ago.
Yeah.
Kevin, you name it. He actually brought it, and we're on the same page on certain things. Not all things, but certain things we are. Check it out. It's the TexAgs Rewind. And I'm just going to start things off with the news that you, I think, predicted on this show yesterday. Wade Taylor named the SEC's Preseason Player of the Year, a gentleman that really found his groove when SEC play started last year, Olin.
Yeah, I mean, when SEC play started, it seemed like he also raised his level, and he was really good. And then there came and I don't have that in front of me. I'm going by memory. But then there came a stretch, and I want to say mid to late February, where he was you could count on him for 20 points a night.
Yep.
And he went from being really good to being, and the word great is used too often, but great, to being one of the best players in America. And it's because of what he showed last year in the tournament at the end of SEC play against Alabama and a win over Tennessee, all those games. People look at that and say, all right, this guy, man, it's the best player in the league. And quite frankly, I think he really, if he continues to progress, I don't know that you can expect him to do a whole lot more than he did in that stretch. But as he continues to progress, I don't think it's outrageous to suggest that this guy could be a All-American. When was the last time A&M had a All-American basketball player?
Olin, this is not a shot at football, but it can be a shot at football. I mean, depending on how you want to take it. Buzz has developed players. He gets players that fit what he wants to do. And then he kind of fixes his system based on what their skill set is. Like there's a certain work ethic you have to play for Buzz Williams. But then the offense can change. The way they get into their offense will be determined by the kind of players they have. And here we are, Draylen Miller decommitting.
Yeah, and it's a tough blow. It's not at their biggest position of need, but here's where I'm at with Draylen Miller. When they committed him, I felt like they landed one of the best football players, playmakers in Texas. And I always talk about how important that is. And, whether you've got an explosive offense that scores a lot of points, then those type players can become all SEC studs and guys that can, light up a scoreboard for you. When you're struggling offensively, those are the guys you need then more than ever. You look at Ananias Smith and for what this offense hasn't been able to do in recent weeks, where would they be without Ananias? And so I think there's that factors into it too. Like A&M needs playmakers. They need ball players and kids that are that hungry to win and really culture changers. And I think Draylen Miller had that type of DNA. The other thing is, you talked about it earlier, the ripple effect and the potential ripple effect. I think he had a big role in some guys committing. They saw Draylen. He was kind of one of the first ones to commit and make that pick, and they were all kind of in it together to a degree. Ty Anthony Smith, the linebacker at Jasper, Weston Davis, the offensive lineman out of Beaumont, and eventually Terry Bussey. Like, these guys were, they weren't all like a package deal by any stretch, but they certainly one commit by one of them piqued the interest of the other, and then there was two, and then the third one was really looking at them, and then there was three, and that certainly was tied in.
Kendall, let's just get into this piece here because, a lot of us are going to get to know Max Weiner this year. But overall, A&M getting three of the top guys, just what does that say about the staff that Schloss has been able to keep and add to?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is, when he put together his original staff, Nolan Kane was like one of the first names I thought they should hire. I think when you look at the guy, he won a national championship at LSU, was part of championship clubs as a coach at LSU, recruited nationally. He's obviously recruited at an extremely high level at A&M. I think anybody that knows Nolan or has talked to Nolan knows he's an absolute natural at this job. I think he's going to be a rock star someday as a head coach. I think if it's Jim Schlossnagle, you're hoping he win a national championship, and then he becomes a head coach. But, I think the helium for him is, very high. Michael Early, one of the biggest, retentions is keeping, Michael Early a couple of years ago. He was in the mix for the Memphis coaching job. He certainly, when Tracy Smith with the Michigan had an opportunity to go up there as a full-time assistant, decided to stay at A&M. Now he's a full-time assistant with the new rules. And so, he is certainly just has a great cachet in the industry, particularly from an offensive standpoint. And then the guy that I think some people might be a little surprised that was on that list was Max Weiner. And I think he's a coach that, and I did not put him on there lightly. I think, anybody would say, hey, as a college coach, he's unproven. But I will say this. I talked to scouting directors, I talked to people in pro ball, and everybody came to the same conclusion that he was a slam dunk superstar. And so that's why he made the list. We'll see what the results are on the field. But I can tell you just from listening to him talk about, his strategy, his approach, and things like that, I'm pretty impressed. Like it sounds like some of the better pitching minds that I hear in the industry.
Vol Nation's mad at Cousin Shade right now for that comment, but he's sticking by it. I mean, he does think A&M, and I think the way he put it was brilliant. If you had switched Jimbo Fisher and his coaching staff for Josh Heupel and his coaching staff, I think A&M would have destroyed Tennessee last weekend. Now, that in that hypothetical, who knows? He could be wrong, but I think he's absolutely correct. It's coaching. A&M's got a better roster than Tennessee. I realize it was on the road, but I know Tennessee's 5-1, but that's a program that I think is teetering towards multiple losses. And at the end of the season, if that happens, again, A&M, I think is going to be sitting here saying, how in the heck did we let that one get away with a Tennessee? Would they score one offensive touchdown and we still lost that football game? I mean, that's baffling.
What do you, does Tennessee, are they able to score enough against Bama to make it an interesting game?
No, I don't think so. You got the revenge factor and everything. Of course, I didn't think they would run for 232 yards on Texas A&M either. I thought 100 yards on this A&M defense was a good day. So credit Josh Heupel. He's flipped the switch. They were high-flying, no defense last year. Now they're all defense and running the ball, and they can't throw the ball for whatever reason. If they could find the passing game, but at this point of the season, I don't think you can't just sit here and say, well, half the season, maybe we'll find I don't think they're ever going to find a passing game under their current quarterback. So now I think it's going to be a rough day. I like Alabama in that matchup.
You think Jaden Daniels gets invited to New York the way his season's going, and will they have enough wins to get him to New York?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key question because he's playing well enough to not only get there, but I think to win the Heisman. But what you've done up to this point, you're not going to be judged on. He's going to be judged on what he does against Alabama and A&M. If, to your point, maybe A&M kind of rallies here.
Well, sunshine pumping, Nick, is that what we saw today or nah?
No, well, according to some of the viewers that comment on our videos, I don't think they actually watch the videos, but
well,
if you do, thanks.
Well, and please like, comment, subscribe. Tell your friends that this show gets even better when they lose, and it gets even better when they win. Both scenarios, you win.